Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford is a visionary. He has redefined genres in gaming multiple times. He has pushed games forward throughout the industry across multiple generations of consoles. He's also the world's worst promoter. Well, recently, Randy created a firestorm on Twitter whenever he kind of waded into the waters about whether or not Borderlands 4 was going to be $80 or stick to the standard pricing structure as we know it now. Because it's Randy Pitchford, it did not go well. In this video, Jay and I will talk about the controversy. We'll look at the evidence, video, tweets, all of that. We'll also discuss our thoughts on Randy Pitchford as a person and a promoter. And at the end, we'll give our predictions on where we think Borderlands will actually fall. And mine comes with a big caveat, and stick around to the end to find out why. Borderlands is kind of like the Nickelback of gaming. It's cool to hate on it, but I love it. I love Borderlands. But
love Borderlands, and I love the lore, and I love the art style, and I love the guys that put it together to begin with, and are still there.
And as adults, we can also look at things and know like when something's not great. Like Borderlands 3, gameplay was great, story did not exist. Like there was so much there that was missing the mark. And Borderlands 4, it looks like they really kind of refocused, and they're really giving us that it was always kind of out there and the humor was always there, but it seems like they're finally pulling back and not going so Tiny Tina about it. And we're getting more like the Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2 vibes again.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. And so Jay and I both love it. And I love Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox. I've had the honor to meet him a couple times. He's a cool dude. I just ate at his restaurant a few weeks ago. Love that place. So I'm a fan of Randy Pitchford. However, anytime that Gearbox goes into a cycle where they are going to be promoting a game for release, Randy would be best served to just not talk. Just stop talking, Randy, because he tends to put his foot in his mouth often. So over the last few days, that has turned into, someone had sent him a tweet. So this person sent Randy a tweet and just said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. So this is in reference to, most people didn't see it until after this tweet from this guy. And so people thought that this was a response after this controversy of Randy's response that I'm going to get to here momentarily, but it was actually recorded prior. So he did this interview prior, and they had asked him about the cost of the game.
What will the game's price be? That's an interesting one. I don't know this.
The price, really, now? I'll tell you the truth. I don't know. And that is the truth. The truth is, I don't know what the price is going to be. I do know that we will be opening pre-orders soon, TM, and that will be when the price is set. And so we're going to have a price set soon, and it might be the new price that like Nintendo and Microsoft have led with. It might be that we stay back. It's going to be the people at the publishing house that decide that.
And he said that he didn't know what the cost was going to be. That's out of his hands because Gearbox is no longer independent. Take-Two Interactive is the parent company of Gearbox now, and that's in their hands. He also said, like, hey, our budget was twice the budget of Borderlands 3, which, one, not our fault. We didn't tell you to do that. But the other thing is he was like, oh, well, now the products, for packaging for retail, those materials are getting tariffed. Well, most people are buying digitally, dude. Like, that's not an excuse to say, like, oh, the plastics are being tariffed. Like, no, man. Like, most people aren't buying, hard copies of this thing. So, but there was that. But he did say, like, hey, I don't have any control over whatever. So this person's saying, well, we do have control. But this is Randy's response. And man, did it not go over well. So he said, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. And that was his response. As you might suspect, people were not pleased with this response from Randy Pitchford, and there was much wailing and gnashing of teeth, and rightfully so, because this was one of the dumbest things that he could have said. This was a definite read the room kind of moment. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah. Plus the whole idea, no matter what the media is, the whole idea of back when I was poor, I could do it. So you'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for reminding us that we're the underlings here. Appreciate that.
The unwashed masses.
Yeah. He has not changed a bit.
Yeah, it's just not a great thing to say, but unfortunately, this sounds like the way that a lot of people are thinking about it. I think most of the people in because these corporate boardrooms, man, these people are not gamers. Hey, real quick, if you've made it this far, you're either a fan of what we do here, a fan of Borderlands, or you just want to watch the world burn. But either way, you have no choice. You're part of the community now. So go ahead, give us a like, a subscribe, let YouTube know you exist, and leave a comment. Tell us, would you pay $80 for Borderlands 4? After days of this swirling around and people being really upset, and rightfully so, Randy Pitchford kind of jokes around with somebody on Twitter, but he finally kind of, I'm not going to go into all that, but I'll just read this little last bit that he ended with, where he did try to clarify himself. And he said, in seriousness though, nobody likes being taken for granted, and it was not my intent. I'm humbled by the love and support everyone has shown the team as we push hard to get this amazing game in your hands. They're crushing it, and I can't wait for everyone to play what's going to be the best Borderlands ever. Regardless of where the price lands, it's going to be worth it and then some. Back to work for me. And that's just what you should have said to begin with, man. Like, you should have just left it there.
He shouldn't have engaged.
Exactly. That's what anytime they have a release cycle, I wish Randy would just be like, and I'm logging out of Twitter. Like, we're just going to not do that.
And I'd like to say that when he was younger, it was even worse, but it wasn't. He's still the same. And I actually met him too, but it's been a long time ago. And he was 20 and he was working on a game. And I was still in the Army that I got to test while I was in the Army, called Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30. Now, just ignore the Ubisoft logo and look to the left a couple spots, and you'll see the Gearbox logo. He worked on this game with a colonel in the infantry named John Antal. And it was weird because when we met them, John Antal was like he was the calming of Randy Pitchford. Now, I felt like after Antal left and Pitchford moved on to the Borderlands arena, that it just went wheels off the truck after that with him. But you could always tell, like, Antal would do this thing, even when we met him, where he'd put his hand on Randy's shoulder and he would start talking and Randy would just shut up. Because, I mean, he was so brash and he was all over the place and he couldn't, like, frame a whole thought at one time. He's one of those guys. And he's a visionary. And those guys are like that. They're dreamers. And I think that's what also that's his biggest strength, because it's what makes Borderlands what it is. But, yeah, you're right. Sometimes, man, the dude just needs to bite the bullet and keep his mouth shut.
Because, again, I am one that whenever my mind starts going, I tend to, I've done it here on the show many times, where I'll kind of like jump around from topic to topic, and I kind of like start a sentence and I don't finish it, and I start another one, and I can go around and you can say some stuff that's not like you can not articulate yourself as well as you would like, and in certain situations that could be a really bad deal. And this is one of those situations for him where it's like, he had, I'm sure he had a vibe that he wanted to put out there, like a tone that he wanted that to be read in. But whenever you send text messages or tweets, those can be read in the tone however the person chooses. Like, whatever tone you want to read that in, you can read it in whatever tone. So it's just bad. He just needs to stop. So hopefully this is the last we hear from Randy Pitchford regarding Borderlands 4 until the release in September. I do, however, wonder now, like, because he said, like, oh, I don't know, it's not up to me. What will it be? Will it be $80? What do you think?
I think, again, and I'm going to say what I said about GTA because it falls in that same boat. I think we're going to get a big boy edition that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $149 to $199, depending on what it looks like. I remember I stood in line for the midnight release of Borderlands 2 because I got the Vault Crate edition that came in one of the in-game like Vault crates, and I got a police escort to my car, and that thing was $199.99. So I think we're going to see one of those, and then we'll probably get a mid-range like that doesn't have the Vault Crate, but it's like the game with the season pass and some aesthetics and whatever in-game kits, if you will. We'll get that version. Then we'll get a version that has those little kit things, but no season pass. That'll probably be like a deluxe edition. Then we'll get the standard edition. So to answer your original question, I think it'll be, I'm betting at least 69. I'm betting at least 70 on the standard.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Standard will be 70. I think it will be set right now. If I had to say right now what it will release at, I would say it will release at 70. The thing that I think might change that, because it seems like there's a standoff going on right now, like an old action movie, and nobody wants to be the first third party to blink. Like, the Nintendo and Xbox have done their thing. That's first party. Nobody wants to be the first third, because that's like Xbox saying it. That's okay. That's Xbox games. Nintendo saying it. Okay, that's Nintendo games. But third party, those games go everywhere, and nobody wants to be the first third party to do it and get that negative PR.
Let me posit this question for you. What other big titles, and I mean Borderlands level big titles, are coming out in that same release window? And I'm sorry if I sniped you on that when I caught you off.
No, I don't know what other things, and they wouldn't necessarily have to release. They would just have to have their price announced.
Correct.
So
you're right.
So I'm saying right now, if I was to put money on it, I would say $70. But if between now and whenever its price gets announced, if another third party comes out and says, "Hey, next Call of Duty is $80 base game," or next whatever is this, then I would say, okay, maybe they might jump in on it and say, well, ours is 82.
But why not undercut them and guarantee yourself a loyal fan base that will defend you to the nth degree? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it comes back to, if you charge $70, then more people will buy the game than if you charged $80. And then from those people, you will have a larger, like, obviously they don't have an online sort. You can play online with Borderlands, but they don't have the same sort of like online moneymaker that is GTA Online. However, they can sell all of these DLC packs. They can sell additional missions and additional DLC and that sort of thing. So if you sell it for $70, you have more people, and then you have more people to sell these DLCs to. So it still is one of those things where if you charge $80, one, I think there will be more people than they expect that would not buy it. And then that also reduces the number of people that you even have available to sell your DLCs to. So I think ultimately they would end up losing money. I just think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
We had a commenter say that they had heard somebody posit like, well, what if they charged more, but that guaranteed all the DLC was free? Like, well, that would be great, but that also they would make less money, because then, like, they're all the stuff that they do after the release of the game, they're not compensated for. I just don't see it working. So yeah, that's my final answer though. Right now, I say it releases at 70, but if somebody comes out and they announce a game or release a game and that game is at 80, it's a third party, then that might change the equation. So what do you guys think? Will Borderlands 4 release at $80? Would you buy it at $80? Let us know in the comments. And look, I'm not saying that Randy Pitchford is the worst promoter in the history of video games, but if I ever released a video that immediately tanked as hard as one of his wait a minute, actually I did. It was this video. It was the Marathon video. That one tanked. Marathon killed that video and Bungie. So watch that video, leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.